What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew,
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
and we, against all odds, made it to this episode.
Oh gosh.
uh, the fact that we made it to recording this episode is a miracle in and of itself. We had so many technical difficulties, issues, whatever you want to call them, for the the hour leading up to the recording of this episode. But man, I'm glad we're here. I'm excited we're here.
Yep.
Only 30 minutes late. So that's it.
Yeah, we're actually only about 30 minutes late at the
On
time
the
of
dot,
recording this.
actually.
But the awesome thing is that I don't know if you noticed, but the intro is different,
Slightly. Yeah.
slightly different. And if you wanted to know what that was from, it is from the 2003 to 2005. Well, technically, there were 2 seasons. It doesn't matter. It's from the original Clone Wars from Cartoon Network that we are going to be discussing starting tonight in a 2-part series. So we've got part 1, which is going to be the first 2 seasons of the Clone Wars run. We're going to be discussing that tonight. And then next week, we're going to be discussing part 2 or season 3, whichever way you want to look at it. So that's why the intro is a little bit different. That was the actual, I had to cut it short, but it was like the actual intro that you saw on TV that used to get me jacked as a kid. So
and on YouTube, it's on YouTube, and I think the one that we're going over is just episode 1 or part 1 or whatever it's called.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. And then next week we're going over volume 2. So
correct.
if you're trying to watch it, like you hear that we're talking about it and you're like, wait, hold up, I need to go watch this real quick. That's what we're going over.
Yeah, so I would say, it's super easy to find. I literally typed in, because I had forgotten what year it came out. So I went into YouTube and literally typed in OG Clone Wars.
Really?
In the search bar.
I typed in Clone Wars cartoon, and it popped
and it was
up.
like the first thing. Yeah, it was like the first thing that popped up. So there's a video that I watched and that I actually have pulled up to watch and reference as we go through this. And it's literally called Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 1, in parentheses, 1080p, not upscaled. And it's the whole thing, uninterrupted.
Yeah.
It's
so,
awesome.
Which is cool because these were like, what, 5-minute, maybe 10-minute episodes?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, I'm just saying for
this.
The visual version on YouTube is honestly better than the version that we grew up watching.
Yeah.
So, you only get the intro and the outro once instead of every 5 seconds or whatever. It's super nice. And I think I own a DVD copy of this, by the way.
You may. We're going to talk. I've got a few fun facts. I don't know why I did my hands like that, but got a few fun facts.
It's a little fun.
That we're gonna go over before we dive into the kind of typical play-by-play.
Play-by-play.
Scene by scene, play-by-play, doesn't matter. But anyways, before we do have some things to cover. You might be tired of hearing it, you might not be, but we are on social media. I'm gonna give all of these things to you really quickly, so you don't have to sit through the whole spiel again. But Instagram, Facebook, if you want to connect with us on there, at Empire Radio Podcast. All one word, no space. Just type it in the way it sounds. Empire Radio Podcast. That's Instagram, Facebook. YouTube. We are on YouTube. Fun fact, if you didn't know, Empire Radio, a Star Wars podcast. Go check us out. Same logo. Black logo with the white Empire symbol and Empire Radio. It's like the same thing across all the platforms. So we're really easy to spot. Empire Radio, a Star Wars podcast on YouTube. Now, speaking of YouTube, I promise you I'm going somewhere with this. We're also on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Empire Radio. And the reason why Twitch and YouTube are linked together in my mind is that because we stream the live recording of all of these episodes on Twitch in real time. So if you want to catch it, you can see us. We're on your screen. You can hear all the audio and everything, and you can interact with people in the chat live as things happen. And then we post those episodes after the fact on YouTube. So If you can't catch the live stream, you want to watch the video version, it will be on YouTube following the recording. And then last but surely not least, we do have a Discord entirely dedicated to Empire Radio and our fans and communicating with us directly. You can go to the link in our Instagram bio as well as a pinned post on our Facebook page to click the invitation link to join there. I promise you it's worth it. We have a lot of fun. I say this every week, and it sounds like I'm a broken record, but we have a lot of fun in this, especially because we have a few members that always seem to have great memes, some of which are at my or Jeremiah's expense.
Did you like the one I made about you the other day? It had nothing to do with Star Wars, but...
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I also really was impressed by and uncomfortable with the Star Wars underwear memes.
Oh, yeah. They were the best.
So if you're like, wait, what the heck is he talking about? If you're new, first of all, welcome.
Hello there.
This is a great way to jump in. It's from our Wives of the Empire episode where my wife decided to lovingly out me in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you are a new listener or viewer, whatever way you found us, if you're new, it might be a good episode to get to know us more. It's a banger, so you might want to go check out Wives of the Empire because it's a good one.
It's a Drew 2024. It's a banger.
Yeah.
That's
there's my meme for the night. Tanner, get on it right now. But anyways,
we've mobilized the forces. Tanner, get on it. So anyways, if you want to connect with us, those are the way to do it. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch if you want to catch everything live, and then Discord if you want to continue that kind of live conversational feeling throughout the week when we're not recording. Speaking of our Discord, I want to thank two very, very special people. David and Jared both this past week decided that they were going to be generous enough to make a financial contribution to our podcast. And I'm still kind of speechless if you can't tell. Like I have a hard time putting the way that I feel into words because it's just so cool for me. You know, we're three guys talking about Star Wars.
That's
it. You know, like
yeah.
Sure, you know, we're entertaining, we have a lot of fun, you know. I'd like to think we're great guys, but at the end of the day, you know, like the fact that somebody loves what we're doing enough to say, hey, I would like to financially contribute to what you're doing, it still blows my mind. And so to both of you, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
this is not me saying you should give.
No, that's not what that is. That's just saying thank you for who
Yeah.
did give, and
Yeah.
So it was really dope, and like we have a lot of plans in the future, you guys, that you can give, but it's actually not even giving back to us what our plans are. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
There is ways that we are gonna be dropping some really cool stuff, and I don't want to give too much of that out yet.
You can't.
But just stay tuned. But in hindsight, I realized that has really no way to. That's we had yeah.
All right.
It was dope.
Anyways, so really quickly, along with making a donation, Jared left us a voicemail, and it was like 30 minutes ago. So I was able to grab it. We've got it to listen to.
I haven't heard it.
I listened to it. Jeremiah and Drew haven't listened to it, but it warmed my heart. So we're all going to experience this together. So let's take a quick listen.
Hi, Empire Radio. This is one of your fans, Jared. Huge fan of the podcast. Even though we are a small community relative to other maybe mainstream podcasts, remember that size matters not. And this community of Empire Radio, we love the podcast, and we love the entertainment and the fun that you guys bring to our day. So thank you for that. Now into Star Wars business. I was going to ask if you could make anything from Legends into canon, what would it be?
Ooh.
Or vice versa, if you could make anything from canon into Legends, what would it be? So
that was it. That was...
Yeah, dude.
I kind of already know mine, but...
Jared, again, thank you.
Jared, that's dope.
It really does mean the world to us. Do you want to go ahead, Drew, and answer that really quickly? I have my thing too already.
Okay, so mine would be the entire book of... okay, now I'm spacing his name. Oh my gosh. Plagueis. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Yes, that's a good
The
one.
Plagueis book, to me, I feel like should be canon.
Yeah.
And in my heart, it is canon. So, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. They haven't filled that gap in yet.
They haven't said it is. Well, I mean, they said it isn't because it's Legends, but...
Yeah, but they haven't filled that gap of time in the Star Wars like canon timeline.
Yeah.
So for me, until they do, it's canon.
Ooh, that's a good thought. That's a good way to do it.
incredible.
I love that book. It was my first Star Wars book.
I think it was mine too, actually.
How cute.
It was either that or Tarkin, but I'm pretty sure it was Plagueis. Here's the thing. If people can say Jar Jar Binks is technically still alive because he doesn't have a canon death, well, this hasn't been corrected yet.
It's true. He could still be the Sith Lord that we've been wanting.
I'm not going that far. Anyways, I would like to make the entire sequel trilogy Legends, and I would like to bring in, if we're doing like a trade thing, I want to bring in Revan's story.
Well, since I don't know anything about Legends, I can't really swap one of those in. But I would say make episodes 8 and 9 Legends, and then make new 8 and 9.
Actually, can I go back?
Yeah.
And can I trade 7, 8, 9 for the Thrawn trilogy?
I thought that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, but we're basically going to be getting that stuff.
We already
with the
have
Ahsoka series.
Yeah,
Oh, that's another episode.
All that stuff is.
We already having Thrawn. Thrawn is here to stay, you guys. I don't think they're getting rid of Thrawn anytime soon. So I wouldn't say that, but I would definitely prefer 7, 8, 9 not to just all of it.
I like 7. You guys know that.
I like
so
7 too.
I'm fine.
Out
with
of those
keeping 7,
3,
just redo 8 and 9, and then
actually I like 9 more than 7, but
gosh,
8 for sure just needs to go somewhere.
I wonder,
and you guys know this.
I wonder if Jared knew that he was going to completely derail us with that.
I literally thought you were gonna say, "Let's save this for another episode," but hey,
too late now.
We're already 30 minutes late.
You know what?
It's
fine. It's fine.
It really
it's
doesn't
fine.
matter at this point.
Anyways,
we're just going for it.
Everyone collectively is rolling their eyes at us right now. So
yeah,
we'll get back on track. So again, David and Jared, I'm sorry, I got a notification that Tanner had posted something in the meme channel on our Discord. So Drew, I think we might have something to look forward to already.
All right.
But yes, to David and Jared, thank you so much. For those of you that want to support us and you can't financially, just you being here is enough. It means the world to us. Because like Jared said, we're a small community, so the people that are here and are involved they mean the world to us. You mean the world to us. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive in.
But I do want to say real quick though, we do love voicemails. That is one thing that we're not going to say don't give to us. We want them. We've had 2 weeks worth of voicemails. And I want to keep this going. This could be a weekly. Yep. Who's next?
We're gonna get like 30
Bring
for
it up.
next week. That is because you just challenged.
Good.
That's fine.
So here's the thing. If we get 30, if we get any more than 10, I will play.
We can have a voicemail episode.
I will play at least 2 of them per episode until we run out.
I was gonna say we could have literally a voicemail episode, a fan-made episode. 100%.
Well, we've got some episodes in the works for our fans anyways. But
That's
we're not
true.
Gonna...
But speaking of last week's voicemail, real quick, I am halfway through the Ahsoka novel already. So, Jeremiah, you might want to...
Oh, that's good.
Step it up, or just get the audio. Just get the audio because your girl did read it, and it's
my girl.
It's pretty spot
I don't know
on.
if I like that,
but
we understand.
Lucy, you still haven't joined Discord, so get on that.
That's what you're waiting for.
Yep.
Okay, so Lucy, it's up to you if you're listening. You have to join Discord in order for Jeremiah to read the Ahsoka book. That's all it takes, apparently. But anyways, back to the episode.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, like I mentioned, I've got some fun facts. So I wanted this to kind of be like an introduction for people who had never seen it or weren't alive. Because, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think this way. But we have listeners that were not alive, potentially not alive when this was actually airing. Like,
that is really
that's really crazy.
It's almost as crazy as how we didn't fly over yet.
Yeah, well, the problem with that...
Technical difficulties. Still lingering.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, so
anyways. You can just do the sound with your voice, Andrew. Do a tie.
We're not going to do that.
Okay.
You know what? Here's what I'll do for everyone. If you really want the TIE Fighter, I will put it in right here.
But for I was gonna say for view.
Yeah, so it'll be right there. I just have to remember that I did that when I'm editing.
Write it down.
But yeah, like I said, I wanted to make this kind of a brief introduction to get people acquainted with the episodes of this Clone Wars series. Give a little bit of brief history, and then we will do a quick walkthrough. So both of you watched it, correct?
100%.
Yes, just the first volume.
Watched it live.
That's okay. That's good. That's good, Jeremiah. All right. So we're all on the same page. Let's go through some quick history. So this series, like many animated TV shows of the last few decades, was actually commissioned by Hasbro to sell toys between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Fun fact. I'd love to say that it was like George Lucas and Dave Filoni or someone at Cartoon Network, Gindy Tartakovsky, coming together and be like, we love Star Wars. Let's create.
I did not know that this was Hasbro's thing.
Well, it wasn't Hasbro. It was commissioned by Hasbro. So Hasbro came to Cartoon Network, who had previously been doing a Transformer show for them, and they said, hey, we want to sell toys. Revenge of the Sith is coming out. At the time, like, it was a big, it's like the big movie of the prequels, like the turn of Anakin to Darth Vader and like the end of the war, like all these epic things are happening. So we want to raise the hype. Fun fact, like I'd say a vast majority, like 80% of all of like the classic cartoons like Transformers from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s were all because of selling toys. They weren't actually TV shows.
For TV shows.
So
that's cool.
But so commissioned by Hasbro. Cartoon Network was like, cool, let's make this a thing. We need to find somebody to run the show. And Gindy Tartakovsky. So you might know that name, you might not. He's behind like every major Cartoon Network cartoon from the 90s and the early 2000s. He did Samurai Jack. I'm like 99% sure he did Powerpuff Girls. Like all of these super popular shows, his stamp, if you go back and look, his name is on almost all of them.
Johnny Bravo.
Probably.
Actually, I'm pretty sure he did. Please correct me if I'm wrong somewhere in the YouTube comments or whatever, but he had just recently, or was in the process of finishing Samurai Jack, which is one of my all-time favorite cartoons ever. And Cartoon Network was like, hey, you do a really good job. Let's get you involved. So he said, yep, but there's one catch. And they said, okay, what is it? And he says, right now, the pitch you gave to me, the episodes are slated for 1 minute. So originally, these episodes were going to be 1 minute long. So it was literally enough to like generate hype for kids, to go buy toys.
It was this
And
commercial. It's a
it was
toy
basically a
commercial.
Yeah. So he was like, okay, hey, I'll do it if you let me expand the time length of these episodes to between 3 and 5 minutes.
I was going to say like watching it today, I just thought of Samurai Jack the entire time.
Oh, the animation
I didn't even
style
realize that
very...
they're together, but it's like the same. Like the way they fight is very similar.
Yeah.
The
Dude,
drawings are very similar.
There's a whole brand of Cartoon Network cartoons from that era that all have that distinct style from him on them. It's crazy. So he was like, I want to make them a little bit longer. Cartoon Network said, they're fine. You can do what you want to do. That's fine. So the goal of the show, once they got into the process of making it, obviously was to connect episodes 2 and 3, which is what the Clone Wars animated, like computer animated show later did. Fun fact, the Clone Wars animated show was actually a child of the popularity of these 3 runs of this original cartoon. So these things were so popular, Cartoon Network was like, maybe we should actually do something with these. And that's why we have, one of the reasons why we have the Clone Wars that we know to this day. Supposed to, the goal was to close the gap between episodes 2 and 3. A few kind of fun facts before we get into more of the history. If my memory serves me correctly, it's the first time we see Grievous and Ventress in what then would have been Star Wars canon.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, it was the first time I had ever seen either of those characters, for sure.
Well, I remember watching it live, and when Grievous came,
oh yeah,
and that final scene,
yes, don't jump the gun.
I just remember getting the chills of a lifetime, and I remember watching it with my older brother and talking to him like, "Who the heck is this person? Like, they're screwed." And like,
well, yeah, and it's funny because like there wasn't the same anticipation from fans to explain things then, and so like
we weren't old enough to complain yet.
Well, that's true, but like even still, like it wasn't the same where like now the second a new character is released, everybody's like, we need the backstory. We didn't know
social media
during this period.
Social media,
right? Because like if you think about it, so this first aired in November, so it ran from November 7th, 2003 to March 25th of 2005. So 2003, this is gonna date me, but I was 9. So all I remember is seeing Grievous and Ventress and being like, I don't know who these people are, but they're really cool. And so I guess if the goal was to sell toys, it worked. I mean, I didn't end up getting the toys, but I wanted the toys. So anyways, so like I mentioned, it ran from 2003 to 2005. So the episodes were released simultaneously on television and online for the members of the Hyperspace Fan Club, which was a Star Wars fan club at the time. They were available the next day on CartoonNetwork.com and on StarWars.com for non-Hyperspace members. So it was kind of like your early days of like Patreon or whatever, where you're part of the fan club, you get it, you either watch it on TV or you get it early, and then everybody else got it the next day. A photocomic adaptation of the entire series was released on May 21st, 2008. A few years later, Dark Horse re-released a comic book series based on the artwork and atmosphere of the show, and in some cases had direct plot tie-ins. So this is really interesting. I'm getting a lot of this from Wikipedia, by the way. Shout out to them. Clone Wars was the first online series to win an Emmy Award due to the fact that it was released on television and the internet simultaneously.
Ooh.
Seasons 1 and 2 that we're talking about tonight won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program in 2004, and Season 3, which we're covering next week, won in 2005 for the same category. The background key designer, Justin Thompson, also won in Outstanding Individual Achievement in Animation for his work on Season 3. Basically, they won a ton of awards for this. Because of how well, like I said, I mean, it was received so well that the Clone Wars that we know now was kind of like a product of the hype. And speaking of that, Drew, you mentioned you saw these live.
Yeah, I remember watching them on TV, and I think, if I remember correctly, I remember watching them not even live on television necessarily. Like, I remember someone from our church used to record Dragon Ball Z for us,
bro,
because we didn't have.
That's a deep cut.
So, because we didn't have cable growing up, that young, anyways. It was on VHS, so they would record it, like the full day's worth of.
Who was this person?
I don't remember who it was, but yeah, they went to our church.
Had like a bootleg Dragon Ball Z,
and they used to.
ring.
It's the same. I honestly don't know who this person is, but they are the same person that gave us a Sega. At the same time too, bless
their souls. They seem like they're awesome.
They were pretty cool, but yeah, they used to give us these VHS, and my parents didn't even know we had them. We used to watch Dragon Ball Z on VHS, and in between,
your mom watch these live streams?
Yeah, I think my mom's in the chat right now, and and then we used to, well, I guess I'll get grounded. My bad. But then yeah, we also used to like they would. I remember the first one like showed up between a Dragon Ball Z episode that we were watching.
Yeah.
And then
that was the thing. They showed up at like the very end, because you remember TV shows, like they have that awkward like 6 to 9 minutes at the end of a show where like it's just commercials and filler and stuff. Like that's where they aired. Yeah, and so I remember watching it, and then I think towards the end of that, we actually had cable at one point, and then we were able to watch it live. And then I think I have a DVD copy of it, and that's how I watched it. But I remember watching it before I binge watched it somehow, and then I went and saw the Clone Wars the movie in theaters, thinking that it was like tied in together, and it was not at all. No. But, well, I remember watching. Well, before I talk, Jeremiah, did you happen to see these live?
No.
Or I feel like
watching it, I've only seen like screenshots of like thumbnails, like on videos, and like.
You were definitely the age, Jeremiah, where you would watch it, though. You know what I mean?
Well, I would have been in middle school and high school. 9th grade high school. Here's when this came out.
There's no shame in watching cartoons at that age.
I'm just saying it wasn't something on my radar at that point. So
you were studying to be a film composer.
Well, at that time I wanted to play. Well, at that point I wanted to play Major League Baseball as a career.
Yes, I remember that.
At that time period.
Wait, what?
But I suck.
That's for later. That's for later. Yeah.
There's not much to talk about.
We all have dreams.
So I was gonna say I remember watching these as a kid, and the hype was so real. Like, because at the time I really wanted to be a two-dimensional artist. Yeah, that made sense. For some reason, when it came out, it just didn't.
Is that 2D artist?
It doesn't matter. I wanted to be an illustrator.
Yeah,
that's a lot better word.
Sorry. I really wanted to be an illustrator. I was super big into like anime, and I loved Samurai Jack and like the art style. And so like I would spend time like trying to recreate scenes from certain shows and hone my skills. So
weren't you a samurai at this point too in your life?
Were you a black belt yet?
No, I didn't get my black belt until I was 16.
Oh, okay.
So I might have just started. It was around that time for sure.
It definitely influenced you to start, would you say?
No, that was all anime.
No, I'm talking about not this show. I'm just Samurai Jack. Didn't it help you at all?
Oh yeah, no, that did. Yeah, okay. For sure. Like it fueled the whole samurai thing, but that's another story. But I remember like loving. I was really taken aback by the art style of the show. Because like it's still to this day like one of my favorite shows visually, just as a piece of art. I love the art style, and I love the animation. So I remember like watching these episodes, and like. Never feeling like I had enough because like we mentioned they're 3 to 5 minutes long. So as a kid I'm like What do you mean? I gotta wait until next Friday between these two shows to watch what happens next with, Mace Windu on Dantooine or like Kit Fisto underwater? Like, so it was like, as a kid, it was gut wrenching.
Well, I was gonna say, if Jeremiah watched this live, he would hate it so much.
Oh, he would hate it.
Because it's like in between like Powerpuff Girls and Dragon Ball Z. So then Jeremiah's like, he's not gonna watch Dragon Ball Z. So he's just like gonna be angry that he might have to watch Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
But we all know he watches Powerpuff Girls still, though. So.
Oh, for sure.
Not still, I did.
Oh, that's fair. So yeah, I just remember they marketed these little mini episodes really well, and I remember thinking like, I don't know what that is, but I've got to watch it.
All right, this is a random side note, but I was just reminded about how, remember Dexter's Lab?
Yeah,
Dexter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gindy Tartakovsky, it was him too.
Okay, so I used to watch that all the time, and my mom came in to the TV room when I was watching it once, and she thought it was South Park, and she started yelling at me.
Wow!
You can't be watching this show. This is a bad show. I'm like, Mom, this is different. I just remember that funny moment.
Yeah, anyway. that was a interesting era, to grow up in a sheltered home for sure. I had similar experiences with other shows.
Yeah.
So
you had those experiences. I had someone smuggling.
Yeah.
Videos, tapes, recordings of it. It was a good life.
Anyways, so let's dive in to kind of an overall discussion on the first part. So this first chunk that we're doing, we're calling it Volume 1, but it's actually the first 2 seasons of this. But because the first 2 seasons were so short, it ends up being an hour and 9 minutes long, which is really sad. But it's also really easy to watch all the way through in one sitting, if you want to go watch it. So there are a few there's kind of a main arc that centers around Obi-Wan and Anakin that is referred back to over and over again. And then there are what I guess we would call filler episodes, even though they were all amazing. So the story starts out, you hear Yoda, he's giving a brief, introduction, the Clone Wars have spread across the galaxy. Everybody's shooting at one another and things are getting really bad. It's like basically just explaining the situation, because we really, after the end of Attack of the Clones, we don't really know what happens at this point in history. Like, we just have that movie. Yoda flipped around a bunch. Anakin got his arm cut off. What's next? So it's like, hey, the Clone Wars are raging. The Separatists are getting certain worlds over on their side. The Republic is defending certain worlds and fighting with them. And then Yoda makes a very specific point to say, basically, Anakin is becoming really powerful. And this is the Anakin, he's still got the Padawan braid. He's got the gold hand. It's basically the same Anakin we see at the very end of Attack of the Clones when he's marrying Padme.
So, this quick question, though, just for clarification. Because I know he had his braid still in. But, like, when we see Anakin in the canon Clone Wars, he doesn't have a braid. So,
correct.
In canon, is him fighting Dooku his like Jedi trial to become an actual? Because
that's a good question.
It seems like from episode 2, Attack of the Clones, to the first time we see him in Clone Wars, it wasn't that long of a time. So,
well, I mean, it was like what, 3 years?
Well, I'm saying that when we see him in
the Clone Wars,
he doesn't have his braid in. So he between the end of Attack of the Clones and the first time we see him in
the real Clone Wars.
Oh, the canon Clone Wars.
Yeah, he doesn't have his braid. So his fight with Dooku, his Jedi trial to become a Jedi Knight.
I feel like that's somewhere in canon.
I wonder if it's either that or because he got married, she made him cut it off.
I don't think that works like that.
No.
It got tangled.
The interesting thing is that this non-canon show that we're talking about does explain that.
Explain what?
How he loses
he loses his braid and becomes knighted.
You have to watch the next episode.
Yeah, you have to watch the next part. Yeah.
Okay, spoiler alert. Oh,
yeah. Anyways, so it talks about how powerful he's becoming. Basically, there is an attack on Munilist, the home of the Muns, Munes, however you say it. It's the same race as Darth Plagueis. They're the banking clan, the guys with the really long heads. You've seen them before. There's a droid factory there. They're harboring the Trade Federation, and they need to go shut everything down. And so the Chancellor, it's a really funny moment. He's like, Anakin should lead the space assault, and Obi-Wan's like, Obi-Wan and Yoda, all three of them, or no, it's just the two of them, excuse me. Obi-Wan and Yoda and the Chancellor in his office, and Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, it's not a good idea to have him lead. And Yoda's like, I mean, he has become a lot more powerful. And before, like, you can tell there's going to be a but we probably shouldn't do it. The Chancellor's like, so it's decided then. He'll lead the space battle. And they both, Obi-Wan and Yoda, look at him and give him so much side-eye. It's hilarious. So anyways, it's set up to where Obi-Wan is going to lead the ground assault. Anakin's going to lead the space battle, kind of like all the other episodes of Clone Wars that we have in canon. And that's where we go. So they arrive in all of their Republic cruisers. Anakin leads the whole Starfighter squadron out to engage the space forces that are around the planet. Obi-Wan takes a massive amount of gunships towards the planet's surface. And this is the moment where we first, at least as a kid for me, see the ARC troopers. This is a big deal because for those of you watching on the Twitch stream, my background has the ARC troopers in it, and they obviously stand out. Like, they've got different gear, they've got cooler stuff, they've got color, painted on them. And Obi-Wan sends a group of ARC troopers on their own mission to go in, destroy this cannon that is preventing their cruisers from landing, and then the goal is to provide a swift end to the conflict. So they break off. Obi-Wan leads the ground assault with the rest of the clones. They go head in and they start fighting droids. And then the first kind of side arc is the story of these ARC troopers getting to the cannon. It's super cool. Most notably because, one, they're super BA and they barely talk. And then two, for me personally, there's no music. So there's like a lot of this orchestral, like Star Wars score stuff happening as they're entering and as, the ground assault is starting and everything. But then at a certain point, the music stops and it's just like a few shots of the gunship flying by. So it's got, that sound, that super iconic sound, and there's nothing. And because that music drops out, all of a sudden it's this, I'm sure it was intentional, but this feeling of suspense almost, where they're flying through this like deserted part of the city all the way around on the other side of the city. And then all of a sudden their gunship gets shot down. They have to fight through a bunch of droids. And it's super cool because they're like doing hand signs and telling other clones what to do and where to go. There's no talking at all. They just know what they're doing. They're super BA, and the action is quick too. It's not drawn out. So like it almost emphasizes the efficiency of the ARC troopers because of how easily they're able to take out all of these droids. Very much unscathed, I might add. A lot of the clone troopers survive that battle. As opposed to the Clone Wars, where we see thousands and thousands of clone troopers die throughout that show. So then they make it to the cannon, they blow it up. There's a few really cool moments where, the sergeant, the red ARC trooper, has these dual pistols and he's doing really cool shots with them. And the framing for this show is really good. Like the shots, even though it's 2D animation, they're very dynamic feeling, especially because in the moment there's no music and you're just hearing explosions and blaster fire and stuff like that. It's really cool. So they get to the cannon, they blow it up, and then it cuts to another small side story, and that is the little Mon Calamari arc. So the Mon Cala and the Quarren, we know for a very long time, have been at odds, and even in Star Wars canon, we're on opposite sides of the war. So basically, the setup for this is that the Quarren joined the Trade Federation, and they're attacking the Mon Calamari with the Trade Federation, and the Mon Calamari don't have any help, so the Republic sends help. And who do they send? None other than Kit Fisto.
So I will tell you that so you never asked me my thoughts on the show thus far.
I figured we were just gonna kind of sprinkle stuff in.
So here's one giant sprinkle for you.
Oh. Prepare for the big sprinkle. I repeat.
I can't see.
The scene when Kit Fisto ripped off his robe and jumped into the water is probably the only part of the volume 1 that I enjoyed watching.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
Because Kit Fisto, he is like probably he might be my favorite, like, minor Jedi, I guess you could say. And I've always liked he's cool. So when him just being super rips off his robe, like force twirls his lightsaber while he jumps and dives and catches it, like, and then he does this super awesome underwater. Like, it was the only part that I enjoyed of the whole volume 1.
What?
So hold on. So you didn't enjoy the ARC Troopers?
No.
You didn't enjoy Anakin versus Ventress or
No.
Ventress in the arena? None of that?
Not really.
Oh my god.
Wait. So the ARC Troopers are like their version of the Bad Batch. And to me, I think they're better than the Bad Batch. Just saying. I thought the ARC Troopers are cooler than the Bad Batch so far.
I will tell you that Tanner in the chat, all caps, who is this man? Because I can't. I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, man, Tanner's heart is going to be broken, and probably a few more people in the chat. But like, the ARC Troopers are even cooler to me because this is the same world that we had Republic Commandos, which, by the way, is coming back on Switch and on PS4. I'm going to be buying it. That's not the point. What the point is that in the Republic Commando novels, like I mentioned in an episode a few weeks ago or last week or whatever, the ARC Troopers technically outranked the Commandos and were better trained than even the Commandos.
Ooh.
And so it makes it even cooler to see them in this because they were in the same universe at the same time, technically. But Jeremiah's just like, it's like the first half of A New Hope.
It's all trash to him.
It was just
sad.
I just didn't like
The art style?
The animation style. Like, it was so late 90s, early 2000s. Like, it was just exactly
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And so, like, it was just so over the top and I think everything was exaggerated. Like, it was almost like a kid thought up like what he was picturing Star Wars could be, and like told a guy.
Well, I mean, think about it. I was 9 when I saw this. Like, that's exactly what it was.
It's more nostalgia than anything, I think.
It was just, and I didn't like. You were like praising like the sound design of like no music and like no talking, and like
You didn't like that?
My God.
I didn't like it at all.
Okay, like if we're gonna say things we don't like,
you're going to a place that I can't follow, Jeremiah.
Because the thing is, like, when you can do no sound, you can do it really well. There are times in TV shows and movies where there's no music or very little sound, and it's done really well. But I didn't really like it here because, like, the sound effects were just super loud in comparison to the silence.
Well, that's how war is.
No, because when we run through the woods here on Earth when there's no music playing, like, it's not super loud. But in this show, like, when they're running, it's like they're running on like pop cans, like it was super loud and like obvious. Like,
yeah, well, and like that scene with the
Drew, don't.
Okay, well, I was just saying,
don't do this to me.
The one scene with the water is coming down and you can hear it off the lightsaber like super intensely.
Yeah,
I get that, Jeremiah. But
wait, you didn't like that?
No, I just understand why he's saying it's like intense, like super loud and unnecessary. Sometimes
we hadn't gotten there yet, but that was like one of the coolest things.
No, I thought it was cool, but when I was watching, I'm like, why is it so loud? Like, but if we're saying things we don't like, Anakin alone This is so dumb.
Okay.
Everything about
and
his voice.
We glossed over the part where I was the most awkward part of the whole thing.
Where
was
he
when,
threw his robe?
No. At the very beginning when Anakin is leaving and he's going up in his Starfighter
and he looks at her.
Padme is looking out and like it's super awkward.
Okay, look.
And doesn't he wave? Like it's just
No,
this
he
is like
wave.
episode 2 over again.
No,
like,
he doesn't wave. But you got to think 10 minutes ago they just got married.
He doesn't wave. He puts his metal hand up on.
They literally just got married.
This is just
okay.
So it is.
Hold on. Pause here before we get into the Mon Calamari thing. You're right. The stuff between Anakin and
Anakin and everyone.
Anakin and Padme is really bad. It's really bad. In fact,
even Anakin getting
is bad.
No,
it's
Anakin
bad.
is bad because even when they gave him that, like when he said that, I don't think my Obi-Wan's like, I don't think my my Padawan is ready to be a general or whatever. His eyebrows are so dumb. I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I will tell you, there was
so
one part
bad
where he's walking up to his overly souped up Jedi Starfighter, which I love. But
it is
he's
cool.
Walking up to when they're taking off to go to Munilist,
and he's tightening up the thing.
No. I was talking about when they're leaving Coruscant. He throws his rope.
Yeah, and it hits.
And he spreads his arms out like he's some sort of a god waiting to be praised, and throws his robe, and it lands on C-3PO's face.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys caught that, but I was
no.
That's kind of the biggest.
I remember that. Yeah,
that's kind of the biggest.
As a kid,
move.
I remember that scene as a kid, and for some reason, I thought it was because he didn't want C-3PO to see him like embrace Padme.
Oh,
but then I realized it didn't even have to do with it. It was just stupid.
Yeah.
But I remember that as a kid.
Well, Jeremiah, I'm gonna say, based on your feedback of Anakin and Padme, that there are going to be a few moments, a few that I can think of in particular in Volume 2 that you're probably going to want to gouge your eyes out.
No, a lot of Anakin stuff in this.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
I just looked at a picture and I forgot about the whole tattoo stuff. But
oh yeah, well, that's next week. Anyways, so I agree. Anakin was very problematic, and he's kind of an arrogant jerk in this in some parts. And then there are a few times where Obi-Wan is like straight up, know your place.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a few.
Who's the voice actor of Obi-Wan?
James Arnold Taylor.
I was gonna say.
Yep, that was one thing that I was gonna.
Say that one sounded good. Anakin's voice was horrible.
Right.
But
well, there are a lot of differences in the voices. Most notably, the clones. Like Grievous has a normal voice, which they do explain in Volume 2. But there are a few differences. But there are some voice actors and actresses in this that are the same for the now canon Clone Wars show, which was kind of cool. So anyways, back to the walkthrough. Kit Fisto lands with a bunch of underwater troopers, which was really cool to see. A new variant at the time. They had like water jetpacks on their backs and breathing gear and stuff. And they go down and they help the Mon Calamari out. And it's really cool because up until this point, we had nothing of Kit Fisto. We saw him in the Clone Wars or in Attack of the Clones. He does the Force push and he smiles, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
and it's kind of creepy. But then in this, it's like they actually have him smile in the same way at one point, which is a fun callback to the movie. But like you see him underwater and he is killer. Yeah. Like he's just destroying stuff left and right underwater. His lightsaber works underwater, which is super cool. He does some really cool stuff with the Force, where he like makes a Force bubble underwater and he throws it at this big cannon that they're using to shoot some of the Republic ships on the surface of the water, and it like blows these massive holes in it. It's super cool. Like you can tell he's really powerful in the Force. He's a great fighter, especially underwater, and he's in his element. So they end up helping the Mon Calamari repel those forces. But it's a really cool scene. And you have to, one thing that I want to keep reminding everyone is like, as we're talking about these scenes, they're literally 3 to 5 minutes long. So again, that's just a reminder. These aren't, full episodes. These are very quick. So as I'm going over them quickly, that's something to keep in mind. But in every one of them, there's a lot of action that is very much worth your time if you haven't seen them before, going back and watching it. Okay, so then we have a continuation of the scene. It cuts back to the attack on Munilist. Muns, however you pronounce that. They're in their control room, and they look at this bounty hunter who is introduced as Dirge, and they're like, I don't know why Count Dooku sent you if you're just gonna stand here and do nothing. And he's like, he doesn't say anything, but he's like, all right, whatever, and he leaves. And this is one of the parts.
No, doesn't he choke him?
Yeah, he does. He does. Classic bounty hunter move. And he's like, okay, whatever, I take it back.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. And this is one of those things that I think Jeremiah probably thought was a little too over the top. I thought it was super cool.
The jousting.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's
as
like
a little kid, it was dope. But when I watched
dope.
it today, I was like, this is stupid. But...
Okay, a quick question, just clarification. So you said his name is Dirge?
Dirge.
So did Dooku say his name?
No, I think he was named either later or after the fact.
Okay, because
he's never like formally introduced in the show, but I know that they named him for the show.
So
I think they named him for the toy. Now that you say that,
yeah.
Okay, that being said, for some reason, I had to, when I was seeing his character, and because he was covered in armor, for some reason I was thinking, is this Grievous before he's is reduced to just a head and a heart?
Yeah.
So like I thought when he was being like fought and like he spoiler alert gets decimated later on in the thing and turns to goo and he kind of slithered away.
Yeah.
Like some of his guts. I thought that was like the last remains of Grievous and they were going to recover him and
I could see that.
Put that armor, but I guess not.
He's a really cool character. It's hard to describe accurately, but he's in armor from head to toe. He's super buff. He has a jetpack and like a bunch of like Mandalorian-esque attachments on his wrists of like.
He looks like a knight.
Yeah, he does look like a knight. He has blaster pistols. Very like Jango Fett-esque on steroids, kind of. But his armor is very different. Definitely go look him up if you had the chance. So he goes out, and the part that we were talking about that's over the top is he comes out on a speeder bike with a jousting pole and is followed by a fleet of IG series assassin droids, also with jousting poles on speeder bikes. So sure, it's a little cheesy and over the top, but as a kid, I was like, I didn't question it. As a kid,
kid, it was cool.
It was like, there's probably a better way to fight this battle other than getting up close and personal with clones that have guns. But you know what? It was cool.
It was cool, and then also to see IG droids in a different view today was pretty refreshing. I totally, like, as a little kid, I didn't realize they were IG droids really necessarily.
Yeah. Kind of reminds you of IG-11 in
True.
When it actually does,
riding on the speeder.
Yeah.
True.
And I will tell you that like the droids and Dirge, when they're coming out, I'm looking at it right now. Like they start, like, it is very evident that him riding out with these droids is a turning point in the battle because they're losing. The Trade Federation is losing by a lot, and then they come out and they start destroying clones like left and right. Like they start really doing some damage. And the clones don't know what. I remember there's one clone that he just goes, he looks and he goes, "Look, sir." That's it. That's all he says. And then it's like this epic shot of them riding over the horizon all in the straight line, and they lower their jousting poles and they start destroying the cannons and the turrets and everything. Anyways, they're causing a lot of problems, basically. That's what you need to remember. And then the next thing that it cuts to, the next scene, is this arena, this underground arena in a cave. And there's a bunch of different people in it fighting. Think of like a gladiator match with a bunch of different gladiators. Except we've got assassin droids, like, you know, cyborg species that have been modified to have weapons, you know, aliens that know martial arts. So they're like all fighting in this big arena. And you're like, what what is happening? What is going on with this? And then you see Count Dooku. He arrives, and he comes in, and he's watching the fights. And then this is the first time we see Ventress. She enters with her lightsabers, which at that point were green and blue, and she starts wrecking people. And one of the things that I really like about this show is the way that they conveyed the Force. They really, really made it like Force users seem powerful. Like they're like doing really crazy stuff, throwing stuff, choking people, throwing lightsabers, like all that stuff. It's really cool. So she wrecks them, and then
if we kind of going a little ahead of ourselves, so what was this whole thing like? She was like in disguise or something?
Oh yeah, she shows up. She shows up, and Dooku senses her, and he's like,
she's trying to
impress him.
Yeah. But like, we don't see the transition from her disguise to her in a black cloak, right?
No.
But like,
Jeremiah,
it didn't make sense. Like,
it's a
was super confused.
5-minute episode.
Oh yeah, but I was like, does she have like a I didn't get it.
Or maybe she pulled the guy out of the chair, and she wasn't the guy at all. Maybe because she's an assassin, she just took care of him.
I guess that would make more sense than what we were given, but I don't know.
So you're right, Jeremiah. She does show up, and she's trying to impress Dooku, and that's how she jumps down. She's like, okay, I'm gonna impress him. She jumps down because he taunts her. He's like, you can conceal yourself, clearly the abilities of a trained spy or whatever. And she's like, fine, I'll prove myself. And she goes down and kills everyone in the arena. And then she bows to him. And at one point, Dooku levitates down from where he's watching, like straight up, like just floats down using the Force.
Because he's the real Sith.
Yeah. And she's like, the dark side is strong with me, for I am Sith. And he chuckles. And he's like, you know nothing of the Sith. And he hits her with Force lightning and just knocks her out. Like, he just destroys her just with that.
Knocks her out, kidnaps her.
He does kidnap her.
Puts her in a bed. And waits until she wakes up.
That was more of a courtesy. Yeah.
Let's go
so
with that.
He takes her back to their hideout. He gives her he attacks her with the lightsabers. With his lightsaber. She gets hers, her old ones. They do a little bit of a duel.
Which by viewing the old ones, you can tell that she either killed a Jedi.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. And then at the end of that, he gives her these new lightsabers, and come to find out, Sidious was watching the whole time, and Sidious is like, she'll do great as an assassin, like that sort of a thing. It's very clear that Dooku is taking her not as a Sith, but as an assassin. And the first mention, or her first mission that Sidious and Dooku give her at the end of this scene, after she passes the test, she gets her new red lightsabers. They're like, you need to go kill Anakin Skywalker. Just like straight out of the gate, like, hey, you just got here, you just woke up 5 minutes ago, now you need to go kill Anakin Skywalker. And she's like, all right, cool, it'll be done. And she leaves to go kill Anakin Skywalker. So then it cuts back to one of my favorite moments in this show. Obi-Wan sees what's happening with Dirge and his assassin droids. They're wrecking him, and Obi-Wan's like, fine. Instead of using guns, what were you going to say, Drew?
Well, I was going to say, Tanner said Dirge was supposed to be the first bounty hunter in the Clone Wars, but was replaced by Cat Bane.
I would have really loved to see him.
Because I think that was in that comic, that Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Because I think Tanner says, I believe it was in the the comics. So maybe that's where they got
named. Yeah.
Yeah, Dirge or whatever. Yeah.
So I think it's funny that like Obi-Wan sees his forces getting wrecked, and instead of like, oh, let's just use guns or the Force or something, he's like, nope, Me and like 200 clone troopers are going to mount up on our own speeder bikes,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to get our own pikes,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just going to charge medieval style at these
Bring it
droids
back
at
old
Dirge.
school.
Yeah.
Old school.
Now, I will tell you, as a kid, some notable things that I loved. One was that the speeder bikes that the clone troopers were riding, like low-key, the front of them low-key looked like a clone trooper helmet. And then I also loved that Obi-Wan was wearing full clone trooper armor.
I kind of like that. Not gonna lie.
Full armor from head to toe, and he had his part of his Jedi robe around his chest, and obviously he had his cape on. So it's very clear who he was. But it was such a cool look.
No, it looks sick.
I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, "Oh, okay, so he's wearing armor now, and he's a Jedi. That's super cool." So, anyways, there's this epic scene where they're clashing, they're destroying one another. Like the droids are being killed, clones are being killed. It's very evident like that the droid advance has been stopped at the very least, and then we get this sick fight, but where Dirge and Obi-Wan kind of single each other out.
Of course.
And they do the jousting thing. That doesn't work.
Well, and Obi-Wan's helmet gets thrown off.
So now we've got helmetless Obi-Wan in the outfit he was wearing before, and it's even cooler.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's kind of like his normal clone outfit, honestly.
Yeah. So like it's super cool. They joust. It doesn't work. Obi-Wan's helmet flies off, and then there's this really, really cool fight scene where like Obi-Wan's using his lightsaber and he cuts Dirge's speeder bikes.
You missed that he did like an Olympian gymnast like flip off his bike and then like did like all these like tumbling in the air and like landed perfectly and everyone gave him 10s.
Okay, I sense some hostility here, Jeremiah.
Yeah, there's a little.
And okay, so it's super cool because like Dirge tries to use his speeder bike against him, and Obi-Wan cuts the bike into pieces and then stabs Dirge through the chest. And then Dirge laughs. He's like, "Nope." And then Obi-Wan's lightsaber is stuck in Dirge this whole time. And then they're fighting, and Obi-Wan's using the Force. Like Dirge starts using stuff like a flamethrower and some poison darts or whatever, and Obi-Wan's using the Force to like deflect stuff and crush the little weapons and stuff. Anyways, in this really, really epic last move, he cuts. I want to watch it to make sure I've got
his
it right.
arm and then cuts his torso.
Yeah, in this like one final super cool attack, he cuts his arm and his torso, and he has his hand, his non-dominant hand, up by his face, across his face, because of the way he just finished the cut. And it just so happens that that's where the comlink is that he's talking to the clone commander with. So it just shows up right in front of his face, and I'm like, that is the most BA but cheesy thing I've ever seen. Anyways, so the rest of this scene is Obi-Wan goes in with the clones to attack the base of operations. They go in, the clones get in, just when they think they've won completely. Dirge comes back, but he's like Play-Doh spaghetti. That's like the only way I know how to describe it. Very like sinewy and like muscular looking, but it's like all pink and purple and stuff. Anyways, he comes back as this big monster, starts wrecking people. Obi-Wan and him fight for a little bit. He ends up ingesting Obi-Wan inside of himself. And just when you think he's going to kill everybody, Obi-Wan uses the Force and just explodes him from the inside out. Just pops him like a bubble.
It's like Men in Black.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, like we mentioned previously, the last thing you see, which I'm kind of sad they never did anything with, but I'm guessing they were planning to and just never got to. Dirge kind of slithers away. Some of his pieces.
Not even in Volume 2, they don't bring him back?
No.
No.
Sorry to spoil that.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Dirge is gone.
So anyways, we cut back to the space battle. Anakin's wrecking the enemy fighters. And we see for the first time, like, he really is a phenomenal pilot. Like, he is doing some crazy cool stuff. It's kind of like the scene in The Force Awakens where Poe, when we first see Poe fly an X-wing and he like takes out like 10 TIE fighters in one shot. Like that's kind of the same vibe. And he's doing some really cool stuff. And then all of a sudden, Ventress shows up. And of course, as hot-headed as Anakin is, he starts seeing his clones get killed, and he starts sensing that this pilot might be his equal. And he gets really mad, so he starts chasing the pilot. They end up flying around space for a little bit, and then they end up actually down on the planet's surface, flying through the city right where Obi-Wan is. And Obi-Wan is like, dude, Anakin, what the heck are you doing? And Anakin's like, no, I sense the force in him, Master. I need to get him.
It's literally what he sounds like.
Like, I need to do this. And Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, if you don't freaking disengage, like, I'm going to come up there and get you myself. Like, he's very clearly pissed. And Anakin's like, oh, no, I think he goes, oh, no, I think the comm's cutting out, Master. But he says it so casually. He's like, oh, no, I think the signal's being cut, Master. And he just turns off his comm and then goes into hyperspace after Ventress.
So stupid.
What a jerk, right? And Obi-Wan looks at the sergeant. He's like, you freaking take a group right now. Do you have the coordinates? Good. Go take a group, follow him, make sure that he's safe, essentially. So then the next little side story is incredibly cool. And it is Mace Windu pretty much by himself fighting on Dantooine against a bunch of droids. So this is the first time that I can remember that I ever saw Mace Windu do anything.
True.
But boy, was it worth it. Because what happens in this scene, he's fighting with a bunch of clones. He is like, they went out of their way to make sure that he did some of the most skilled stuff you've ever seen a Jedi do in this whole scene. Like his lightsaber technique, the way he jumps, the way he uses the Force, like it's all like next level, just under Yoda level. Like he's an incredible fighter. And at one point, I don't understand the point of this, but the Trade Federation, the Separatists bring out this weapon that is essentially a big hammer, like the size of a major city, and it just hits the ground and creates a crater, and then the shock waves, anybody that wasn't atomized by the hammer itself gets blown back because of the shock wave. So you see Mace Windu, he does a really good job of like the first, maybe the second time, like navigating the shock wave over the ground and making sure, you know, he doesn't lose his footing and stuff like that. But he ends up losing his lightsaber in one of the gusts and surrounded by hundreds of super battle droids. And you're like, okay, he doesn't have his lightsaber. What is he going to do? And then he starts doing Jedi martial arts. I don't know if it's Tartakovsky or what their martial arts style is, but it's really cool because he's like amplifying his speed and his power with the Force. It's very clear. And he's like punching holes in super battle droids. At one point, he like just waves his hand and like 50 of them just fly backwards. There's one point where he uses the Force to take all of the nuts and bolts out of one so that it just falls apart. And then he takes those and uses them as basically bullets to like disintegrate a few other ones. Dude, it's so cool. Like, I know Jeremiah's sitting there and he's like, it was stupid. It was over the top. But like,
what ruined it was the stupid hammer thing. Like
that.
That ruined the whole thing for me. Like
the sand crawler that's floating with a hammer. That's what it looked like.
A big sand crawler.
It did.
It was just like
it was very cartoony.
It was interesting how he always had to deal with the shock waves, but it was just like it was just stupid. And then like,
oh come on,
like who I would consider the broom kid of the series is standing on the hill.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Hold on.
I could totally see that.
Anyways, so he does this epic hand-to-hand combat scene. Finally gets his lightsaber back in the middle of flying through one of the shockwaves again. Starts wrecking droids left and right. Ends up getting oh no, Tanner says I'm leaving. I can't. You're breaking his heart too. So he gets his lightsaber back. He breaches the armor of this thing, goes inside and destroys it, and ends up jumping way too far, honestly, to a hilltop where there's this little kid. He's been watching the whole battle, and the kid gives him water and mace smiles at him and takes it, drinks it, and then he jumps back into the battle, and that's where it ends. So, sure, it's a little cheesy, but would I say he's the broom kid? No.
He's the water boy.
Everyone hates the broom kid, and I think it's unfair that people hate him so much. So I'm gonna be unfair and hate this little kid because
he's the water boy of the galaxy.
Wait, but why do you hate him?
Because water sucks.
Huh?
Why do you hate him?
It was just I just didn't like it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Well,
he seemed like he wasn't from the Star Wars universe. He seemed like he was a kid from Ohio transported to this hilltop and was
he would have at least been from Iowa.
I was gonna say Iowa, definitely not Ohio.
I don't know. Whatever.
Anyways.
Or Wisconsin.
Right. Nah. He did look kind of southern. It doesn't matter. Anyways. That's fine. We'll move on.
Yeah, before we lose more fans, let's keep going.
Yeah, I was going to say. But you know what? I think it might be time to take a quick break. Just take a moment to breathe, heal our hurt hearts, and listen to a quick word from our sponsor. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's go.
Jeremiah says sure. All right. Take a listen, everyone. Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor for today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that they have a subscription service that gets those amazing coffee beans delivered to your door on an either weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly basis. Unfortunately, we're all being negatively affected by this virus right now. But that being said, what a better time to try some new coffee and support a local business. I know they'll greatly appreciate it, and we will too. After all, using the code Empire Radio with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, when you start a new subscription at wesleyandrews.cc, you'll get 50% off your first purchase. I can't think of a better deal. Get 50% off, support a local Minneapolis coffee shop, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it. Do it.
Do it.
And if you didn't know, we do have a special blend in collaboration with Wesley Andrews called the Rule of Two. And if you want to get a bag of the Rule of Two, it is a special blend, but it's really good. You will need to let us know in a direct message of some sort or on the Discord so that we can get 7 people together, do a roast a batch of the beans, and then send them out all at one time so that you can have the freshest coffee experience possible. So again, direct message us or let us know on Discord, and we will get that process started for you. Okay, I think I've cooled down a little bit.
I guess the question, did Tanner cool down?
Is he still there?
Yeah, he got mad at me for saying Wisconsin. So.
Yeah, you said Wisconsin, and I was like, oh no.
I kind of said it just because I saw that.
Adding insult to injury.
Like he's from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Yes. Don't.
Jeremiah.
All right, we're gonna move on. So the next little side arc takes place on Ilum. We have Luminara and Barriss.
Actually, I did like this story a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
you did.
Well, the thing is, I've always liked Luminara and Barriss.
You like
and
Barriss,
you like Ilum.
And I like Ilum, so I guess this was pretty cool.
So you like Barriss?
This is before she's bad, dude.
Yeah, but still.
This is a good version of her.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, she's kind of like the mirror of Ahsoka. Like, she had the same struggles that Ahsoka had, but like
she did not do the right thing.
She did not do the right thing, and Ahsoka did do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. But so Barriss is making her lightsaber in this scene, and Luminara's like, the heart is the soul of the Jedi. The Jedi is the soul of the Force. The crystal is the soul.
Yeah,
it's like this weird thing, and I was like, even as an adult, that's kind of a stretch, but whatever. And so she makes her lightsaber, and then they sense that something is going wrong, like there are trespassers.
So I have a question though,
yes.
because
she says something. Luminar says something like, "Your training is complete," and implying that she's never trained with a lightsaber before, but then she's like proficient with it.
What? No.
Well, she gets her kyber crystal
Yeah.
and creates her saber.
Yeah.
But like she said, her training is complete. Like, is that referring to what specifically? And if this is the first time she's had a lightsaber,
well, it's not the first time she's had a lightsaber because they still train with lightsabers at the temple.
But also,
I think she was referring to
her training on creating a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it was literal. Like, hey, you're like.
Also, Jeremiah, it's not canon, so why it doesn't matter.
You're right. It doesn't matter.
It
so
doesn't.
I can trash this all I want.
No, you did that.
I didn't
Drew,
say that. I didn't say that. I'm just saying there's no point to nitpicky certain things because it's not canon. Just how like, what's her name like was found or whatever. Palpatine wanted her and showed Dooku who she was. Like that whole like Dooku and Ventress thing was not real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna nitpicky that. It's just,
okay.
You just enjoy it for what it is.
So they're like, hey, we sent something, and before someone says, but Jedi can't sense droids. How are they able to sense the droids that the Separatists sent to plant mines in the caves of Ilum and blow them up? Well, I would like to say that it's because Ilum was very strong on the light side of the Force. Their abilities were amplified while they were inside the cave, and they could feel a shift in the atmosphere, even though it wasn't the droid specifically.
Wait,
so
Jedi can't sense droids?
No. Because they're not living. They're not living.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
When did we hear that? In canon. I never remember hearing
Wouldn't
that.
they be? Isn't sensing like when they know like they're behind them? Like
so precognition and being able to sense droids are two different things.
Like, but I mean, maybe they don't be able to sense droids, but they're probably able to sense like electricity or like things.
They can't sense droids because droids aren't living. And what I'm talking about is like. So you know how a Force user can sense another living thing, like in another
like
room
an animal or
right,
yeah,
in another room. They wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, C-3PO is in the room next to me. I can sense him," because he doesn't have a place in the living Force.
Is that why in Episode 2, when they're guarding Padme, they couldn't sense that droid in there? The only reason why they sensed it was as soon as the bugs came out of it.
Yeah.
And that's when they realized that something was happening.
Now, precognition, so we all know that Force users have the ability to see little bits into the future while they're fighting, and they're able to anticipate moves extremely well because of that. Like that's in that's in canon novels where it talks about Jedi being able to see things as they're or before they happen, and that's why they have such good reflexes. Sure, they're skilled, but at the same time, they're able to get a sense or a feel for what's going to happen ahead of time. So if a droid's going to be attacking them, sure, they can sense that. Or if a droid's shooting at them, they'll be able to sense the path of the blaster bolt, but not the droid as a creature.
I've never really
thought of it.
I will tell you that it's not canon, but in the Republic Commando novel, there's a Jedi named Etain.
R.I.P.
Etain, yeah. And they have a conversation specifically about how she can't sense droids and the commando, because the Republic Commando she's with, he's like, do your Jedi thing. Can't you like sense the droids? And she's like, actually, no.
Do the hand thing.
Works.
Yeah, it's like the one thing I can't sense. So yeah. Anyways,
that's also not a canon thing. But anyways, keep going.
Anyways, so they go fight the droids are planting mines. They fight some of them. Some of the mines still are there. They explode, and a bunch of rubble and crystals and stuff fall on them. And they use the Force to create a barrier around them so that they don't get crushed by the stone. And now they're trapped. So then from here, it cuts to Padme Amidala. She's on her ship. She's traveling with her captain with C-3PO and R2-D2 and Yoda. I don't know why he's on her ship. I think they were doing.
Is that the same ship from episode 1?
Yes.
It's supposed to be, or is it just?
It's very similar.
Because that wouldn't doesn't blow up in episode 3.
That's
2.
a different ship.
That's episode 2, but
yeah, and it's a different ship. Yeah. I think it's the one. I think it might be the ship from. I don't know. It's probably the one from episode 1. I mean, like the room looks the same. But they're all there. Fun fact about C-3PO: Gindy Tartakovsky animated C-3PO to be and R2-D2 to be similar to the style that they were in the Droids cartoon.
Yeah.
So that's just a fun fact. So they're there. Padme's in her ship. Yoda's like, something's happening on Ilum. We got to go. And her captain's like, no, you can't. Don't put her in danger. And Yoda uses a Jedi mind trick on him to convince him to go. And she thinks it's kind of funny. So she's like, yeah, we'll go. We'll check it out. So they land. Yoda's leaving out into the snow. And she's like, no, I'm going to go with you. And he's like, no, you're not going. And she's like, no, I'm for real going to go with you. He's like, no, stop. You're not. This is a Jedi thing. You don't need to be involved. Stop. So
you're just my ride.
Yeah. She stays with the droids.
Keep the engine running. If I have to make a quick exit.
She stays with the droids, and he goes out into the snow. And there's a really cool moment where he does have a precognition type experience where he is able to sense before one fires on him. He destroys a few of the droids. It's really cool because, of course, it's Yoda. Like, he's super fast. He's super powerful. He jumps on the back of one and uses it as bait. So the other, like, one or two shoot at that droid that he's on and destroys it. Like, it's a bunch of fun lightsaber combat. And then he is able to go in and save Luminara and Barriss. While this is happening, while he's gone, Padme and R2 and C-3PO have their own run-in with these droids. And by the way, I forgot to mention they're cloaked. So they are invisible, which is why... I mentioned the precognition type deal with Yoda because he didn't just see it because they were cloaked. He sensed it. So, sorry, I heard a noise in the background. I want to make sure everything is okay. So R2 picks some of the droids up on his scanners, and that's how Padme is able to engage these droids. She actually uses C-3PO as bait by throwing her cape out into the snow and making him go pick it up for her. So that's kind of lame. But anyways, so she has her own run-in with the droids. They destroy the droids, and then Yoda comes back with Barriss and Luminara.
But she almost blew up C-3PO. Like,
yeah, she did.
Like,
I mean, she threw a grenade out, and
it was like right there.
It detonated like right at his feet.
But also, like, we've seen C-3PO get destroyed and put back together. So
what if his like outer shell is actually Beskar and we don't know it yet? Ooh. Maybe that's why he didn't die in that moment, because he has a Beskar.
Well, to be fair, this isn't canon, so it wouldn't matter.
True. Once again, nitpicking things that doesn't matter.
Well, no, I'm just.
But except for his one leg and his one leg
and that one arm.
You
and his one arm, those ones aren't Beskar, but the rest are.
You can't pick and choose.
It's kind of like Mando. He had to piece his armor together piece by piece.
So
gold Beskar. Do you think it's worth more?
Probably.
It would just be painted. Beskar doesn't come in gold
that we know of.
Right. So we're not going to assume.
Almec had yellow armor in Clone Wars when he fights Bo-Katan in the throne room.
True.
It could have been plated.
Plated Beskar?
It's called having gilded armor.
I feel like Jeremiah likes this conversation way more than the whole episode.
If you played RuneScape, you would know about gilded armor. There's a deep cut.
I'm calling it right here, right now. C-3PO has Beskar shell on his his self. So,
all right.
You heard it here first, folks.
So then it gets back to Anakin. And he tracks Ventress, and then there's this whole scene I happen to like a great deal where the clones land, and he's like, Obi-Wan sent you? He's like, yes, sir. He's like, okay, well, make yourself useful. Go, you guys, you're coming with me. We're gonna look for this person. The other 2 or 3 clones stay with the ship. Make sure everything's fine. So one by one, all the clones get destroyed. And there's moments where like they're being destroyed through the Force by Ventress. She's hiding in the trees. It's on Yavin 4, by the way. Just plot twist. And they're in the forest on Yavin, and she's like wrecking these clones, like slamming them together, like ramming them against trees. There's one point like one gets thrown and is like spinning like a rag doll. I'm pretty sure. Like
it's a nice trick.
It is a good trick. Thank you. It's always a good trick, Jeremiah. And Anakin the whole time is like, something is definitely going on. This is not good. He goes back towards his ship, and she blows up his ship. He goes, last thing you see is R4. And then R4 looks at him and beeps once, and then just R4 is gone. And so then they finally engage each other. I will say this is a very epic lightsaber duel. If I do say so myself. It's the longest one of this whole miniseries. And you can tell that he and Ventress are very evenly matched at this point.
Yeah, which I didn't really like, but...
Yeah. I guess it serves its point because you can tell he's getting more angry.
Well, he said that. He said, "Oh, you've gone too far," or something when R4 broke. Like, it was too far because of R4. But
yeah, so this fight is very, very, very much worth watching if you have a chance to. They end up fighting, and they end up at the top of a temple. On Yavin, and it's very much foreshadowing because the moon, the other Yavin moon that's orange, is very close in the atmosphere. It's looming overhead. Everything's bathed in red light. There's a lot of shadow casted over Anakin, and he finally gains the upper hand on Ventress. He ends up grabbing her arm with his metallic hand and like almost crushes her wrist, and she drops her lightsaber. He ends up picking up the lightsaber with the Force and grabbing it, and then he like blindly with rage attacks her with her own red lightsaber, overpowers her, and hits her so many times. He just think Luke in Return of the Jedi, where he's like just wailing on Vader in his anger. Anakin does that so hard that the ledge that they're on underneath them breaks, and there's a moment right before it breaks where he's hitting her lightsaber, and you see the flash of the lightsaber, and then it goes dark, and you see in different blues and greens the outlines, the silhouettes of like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Yoda. And so there's this very intentional like, oh no, like Anakin is going to the dark side. He's taking another step in that direction. And you have this juxtaposition of all of these Jedi Masters that have been trying to train him and steer him in the right direction. And then she falls into an abyss, and it's presumed that she's dead. And then Anakin is standing there bathed in red light with her red lightsaber, and he just yells like super loud into the night sky. And that's how the lightsaber duel ends, and he's just there by himself,
and he throws
his own rage. Yeah, he throws the lightsaber down into the hole. He doesn't keep it.
Just like his son throws a lightsaber.
That's true.
In the future.
So he takes her ship back and connects with Obi-Wan. And that is kind of the end of the Munilist arc. And then right before this first part ends, we have the introduction of General Grievous. So there are four Jedi, two Jedi Masters, Ki-Adi-Mundi and Shakti. There's one Jedi that was intentionally drawn to look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I don't know if you thought that, but it's a thing. And then there was another one that is, I do not know his species off the top of my head. The Tall. Is it Tall? The Tall? From Pantora? It's the guys with the multiple eyes that the Pantorans are racist against in that one little arc in Clone Wars on the moon, the snow moon. Anyways, I think.
I don't know. No, you're talking about the. Because I'm watching it right now. The guy
wasn't there a Tall
with the teeth with the teeth that are sticking out?
Was it the teeth? Was it the tooth guy? I'm sorry, my memory's a little fuzzy. Oh no, the tall guy is in the neck. I'm sorry, you're right. He's got tusks.
Yeah, but whatever this guy is, I don't even recognize his.
Yeah,
but he's a cool design though.
Yeah, so they're in the wreckage of. Oh, and Tanner put it in the chat. His actual name, the one that looks like Shaggy, is Master Sha'agi. So it's SHA''A''Gi. Not jokingly, this is a thing.
Do you know that in the Clone Wars, I think in one of the earlier seasons, I forget who it was, but like one of the characters was named I'm Gonna Die.
Oh my.
I'm a Gundai is Master Gundai.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Because he's gonna die.
He was voiced by Dave Filoni.
Oh, cool.
Fun fact. Yeah, so anyways, they're in the wreckage of a downed Republic cruiser, and they all look super scared, and they're looking out, and they are completely surrounded by battle droids for what looks like miles. And then you have this epic scene where I'm pretty sure you hear Grievous talk, but they can't figure out where he's coming from. But then they start hearing his metallic footsteps. But it's like this fear tactic where they're like, it's like this really ominous. There's no music. You just hear his feet, and they're echoing all over the place. And they can't figure out where he's coming from. And then this poor guy.
Oh gosh, it was all terrible.
He gets wrecked. So I'm pretty sure it's Shaggy.
Yeah.
He gets scared and he's just like, I can't stay in here anymore. I'm gonna run out, and he runs out, and I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to find the scene so that I can.
If Scooby was there, he probably would have told him not to.
106.20 is when he runs out.
He runs out. He screams and he runs out. And then Grievous lands on him.
And he just disappears.
He just disappears. He's just gone. So then it starts this epic duel where Grievous is, I would say, the most terrifying we will ever see him. Because, he's not even bound by the limitations of, 3D animation. He is wrecking these Jedis. Standing on his hands, fighting with his feet.
This is before the cough, right?
Yes, there's no cough. He's standing up straight. There's no cough. At this point, I don't think a lot of his backstory had actually been written. He has a normal voice. He just sounds like a normal, kind of a ominous sounding bad guy with a droid kind of vocoder type effect on it. But he starts killing these Jedi one by one. He severely injures Shakti, which is no surprise because she dies 7 times in Star Wars canon or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, but he very much is a massive threat to these Jedi, and they are losing very, very, very badly. And then when all hope is lost, when you think all hope is lost and they're all going to die, a gunship is seen flying in over the horizon. And oh wait, I'm sorry. No. Did I just? I can't remember where this one actually ends.
I think it cuts to Yoda.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Forget what I said about the gunship. Don't worry about that. Tanner's probably mad at me for saying that, but don't worry about it. Sorry, I got a little bit ahead of myself. I always watch these back to back, so the whole story kind of runs together for me. But then you're right. All hope is lost, and then it cuts to Yoda, and he's looking out over Coruscant, dark black sky. There's lightning, and it just ends.
That's it.
That's it. So, anyways, hopefully my storytelling wasn't completely atrocious.
No, it was pretty good.
Hopefully you get a good idea of what's going on and what's happening. But this series is very okay. From my opinion, from my point of view, is very good.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view, is very good, and it's very much worth watching, especially because it's only an hour and 9 minutes. Like, you just sit down, you watch it, and you're done. Like, it's shorter than most like Netflix shows now, for the most part. Like, if you've ever seen Sherlock, those episodes are like an hour and a half long. Great episodes, but this is way.
Yeah, they're a lot. They're a lot.
So Jeremiah, I just thought you should know. You know, I made the comment about, I think Tanner's gonna hate me for what I just said. And he's like, actually, I didn't hear what you said. I'm telling my best friend of 17 years who we met through Star Wars about how Jeremiah hates all things Star Wars.
Oh, gosh.
Just trashes it all.
Gosh.
Unless it's the new Clone Wars series. Yeah.
Or Rebels, or
Rebels, or
most Star Wars stuff.
Most Mandalorian episodes.
I don't like the first half of
The Mandalorian,
and I don't like this non-canon show. That's it.
Well, let's see what you think about
the end.
Volume 2.
Hopefully,
because it seems like Volume 2 they got a little bit more money. Like,
well, so here's a little foreshadowing and a little some teaser facts about Volume 2. First of all, Volume 2, Season 3, because of the reception of the first two seasons, was given 12 15-minute episodes. So we went from 3 to 5 minutes to 12 15-minute episodes, give or take. They range, but it's
so Volume 2 is
all Season 3.
It's 3 hours long.
No.
It's the same. It's like an hour.
15-minute episodes would be 3 hours.
Well, they were definitely like 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know if they were all 15 minutes, but no, you're right.
I don't think it was much longer.
No, it was. They were longer episodes because I remember they were definitely.
Well, we'll have to look that up because
yeah. Well, that's a
lot more time I gotta set aside to.
Oh, dang, sorry, man.
to force you to watch.
The show just keeps getting worse and worse.
Oh my gosh. So, Volume 2 is an hour and 1 minute. I don't know how that works out because they were definitely longer episodes.
Oh, they might not be 12 of them. It might.
I don't think there was 12. There's no way there was 12. Anyways, Tanner says, I kid. I just get offensive and sad because he dislikes all things Legends, and that's what I grew up on and used all of my childhood reading, and all the stuff that is near and dear to my heart. Ha ha. So, anyways, Volume 2 is next week. We're going to be covering Volume 2, and the last thing, keep in mind that the last thing that I as a child saw from Volume 1 was Grievous wreck a bunch of Jedi Masters and Padawans.
Well, yeah, and honest,
that was it. And that's what they leave you on.
Yeah. As a kid, that was the first memory of the show that I ever got.
Yeah.
Was this scene, and then my brother found out that there's more episodes, and then we watched everything before that.
On VHS
bootleg, recorded because there was always Dragon Ball Z marathons sometimes, and I got all the whole season of Dragon Ball Z on VHS with some
Which
dope
is funny
commercials.
because like 3/4 of most of the season is Goku yelling and charging up like a
Oh
scarecrow
yeah,
or
and
something.
in hindsight, it's like it's a little rough. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Was
Volume 2 is
Vegeta
next
ever
week.
scared in any of those?
Huh?
episodes? What?
What'd you say?
I said,
What?
was Vegeta scared at all? At any
No, we're not. No,
Stop.
no, no. Jeremiah has a joke, and we're not going to allow him to say it. Maybe
No.
next week. If he has
Listen
something
last
good
week to last week's episode when I made the joke, and then
Yeah.
it'll make sense.
So, anyways,
Or doesn't.
if you have an hour or 2 hours, it's really fun to watch these back to back because it's a length of like a normal movie, but it's a completely alternate storyline to the Clone Wars that we know today. So it's kind of like a really cool like what if things had gone differently. I think the Clone Wars television show definitely covers obviously way more time in the Star Wars universe. For sure, like way more time is covered in Clone Wars. Like these 2 volumes, you know, there's like, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a little bit of Volume 2 that covers Anakin as a Padawan, and then there's like a pretty significant time jump. So it's like a little bit of him early in the Clone Wars, and a little bit of him a little bit later in the Clone Wars, and that's kind of it. So, but it's still really interesting, really good. The animation style does change between the two. I don't like the animation style for, I'll say I don't like Anakin and Obi-Wan as much in Volume 2, but I like the clones more the way that they look in Volume 2.
Is it the same artist or no?
I think there were some subtle differences. But
Gotcha.
anyway, so Volume 2 is next week, but like I said, again, if you have the time, definitely watch at least Volume 2, but preferably both of them before we record next week so you can be in the know. Maybe Jeremiah will like next week better. I probably am going to say I doubt it because of the way he reacted to this one.
Yeah.
And there's more bad Anakin content and some awkward Anakin Padme moments in Volume 2 that I don't think you're going to enjoy. But
I don't hate those moments in
it's true.
So I might actually enjoy the Anakin Padme scenes. So
probably not.
We'll see.
They're pretty awkward. Anyways, so yeah, let us, if you've watched this or if you haven't, let us know what you think. Either about what you've seen or what we talked about. Let us know on social media. Let us know in the Discord if you're in it already. If you're not, join it, and then let us know what you thought. Send us a voicemail if you haven't done that yet, and you're waiting for your sign. This is your sign. Send us a voicemail. We need
Tanner's gonna leave an angry voicemail.
Yeah. and I will tell you something, Tanner. If you leave an angry voicemail, I will play it. Mm-hmm. You have my guarantee.
Keep it PG.
Keep it PG. But I will play it during next week's episode if you leave us a voicemail. You have my, and if anyone has any thoughts about Jeremiah and his views of this, let's keep it. Let's not attack Jeremiah directly, okay? But I'll play all of them next week.
We already had one.
Well, don't commit to all of them because if 30 people put in,
no, we're playing them all. No, I'm joking. Tanner says tempting, and then he quoted, "It's not the Jedi way."
Yeah.
And then I would respond with, "Do it." But
do it.
Anyways, let us know what you think about this Clone Wars series. Did you grow up watching it? I'd love to hear those stories. Did you grow up watching it? Did it have an impact on you? Were you not born yet, or were you too old to really care about this sort of thing?
You're too old.
Jeremiah's shaking his head. Anyways, thank you all for being here. Thank you for continuing to listen and to catch the streams, to interact with us in our Discord. I've said it once and I'll say it again. We can't do it without you. So
yes.
I was going to say you're our only hope, but it felt too cheesy. So anyways, do you guys have anything else?
No. Nothing.
No.
Cool. All right. Well, stay tuned for covering Volume 2 next week. And then the following week, we will be discussing our top 5 favorite Star Wars ships.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's what we've got planned. That was also an idea from someone in our Discord.
Multiple people.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's one more thing before we end the episode officially. That another benefit is that if you join the Discord, we have a specific channel for content suggestions. And the last 3 episodes,
Trivia, Views of the Force.
Yeah, they've all been listener suggestions.
It's gonna be like 5 or 6 in a row. So
yeah, so
which is
that's
making us our lives a lot easier too. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Last time we had a discussion about this, Drew was like, "We should do our favorite bantha fur colors or whatever." Like, no,
yeah,
because
that's a thing. It'd be more like
I'm totally joking. He's like, "We should give
Tauntaun. What's your favorite Tauntaun shampoo?
Tatooine is our favorite planet."
Yeah.
Anyways,
we should do what's our favorite planet though.
We could,
but everyone knows my answer, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Anyways. All right. Well, without further ado, you have been listening to another episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.